Thanks, Stuart. I'll be conducting a presentation on STDs, uh, currently more accurately referred to as STIs, for sexual transmitted infections. Going to examine tonight some of the topics are going to be looking at why STDs are expanding at an alarming rate and what is contributing to that. We could open up with like a general activity. Basically, there's going to be some questions which may give us a better understanding of why STDs continue to grow at an alarming rate. So let me present this question. How does a person look that has an STD or STI? There's probably a lot of different things come to mind, but technically they may all be inaccurate or completely subjective for the most part. Even if we have a frame of reference, what we think someone with an STI would look like, that probably would not be the case or the norm. And then let's look at it from a different angle as far as what prevents STIs. And generally, probably what will come to mind or will spring to my mind is, of course, protection during intercourse, which generally will involve a condom. So I will present a different question. Outside of a condom, what ways could safe sex be practiced? And so we just looking at that. I want to open up with that, just present a couple of things. I'm just going to go through a lot of facts on STD, a little research on what I found anyway that can maybe contributing to STD. I was somewhat surprised by the rate that STIs are spreading in America. But then I looked at the variables involved, and with the consensus that we was presenting that, of course, you can't really tell by looking at someone if they have an STI. And then the other factor in is safe sex. It's like, do we practice safe sex with just some people, or if we've been in a relationship with someone for a while, we started off having a safe sex, but now we with them and we feel committed, so we stop practicing safe sex, or as condoms or alternatives to condoms we generate with safe sex, more looked at as pregnancy prevention, outside of the pill, of course. So I think there's a lot of factors that add to the fact of what STDs, and also, of course, there's education as well. But I just wanted to propose a few questions before I go into the presentation and look at facts. So I'm just going to go through a few facts. There are 20 million new STD infections per year. That's just in America. So that's, of course, very alarming. And this is another interesting fact. Over 50% of new STD infections are between the range of 15 to 24. Now, a factor that may contribute to that, of course, is youth, because most of us, when we're younger, we feel like we're invincible. We feel like things can't happen to us, and technically our hormones are raising, especially between those ages, even after that, specifically for guys. And so safe sex may be on the back burner. And so from my analysis, as I go through the facts, I'm looking at a strong proponent to combat STIs would be, of course, education. And you want to educate everybody, of course, but you want to specify or perhaps hone in on the age group that is most relevant, which is 15 to 24. And of course, you're dealing with maturity level at that age, and again, hormones, people trying to find themselves, find their voice, sexually awakening, and all that. That's even more reason, probably, that people would be highly sexually active. And so, I'm not necessarily saying that, of course, we all contribute to sex, and sex is a great part of life, but in order to deal with the crisis on it, it's a matter of perhaps education and always and consistently practicing safe sex. But I'm going to go through more of the facts on the presentation. There is evidence that support that teens may respond more to message framing and visual aid. And so technically it says STI screenings and condom use. And I guess arguably that could be looked at as whether that belongs in school or not. I mean, obviously in college it should definitely be relevant, but since the age range is 15 to 24, is almost, at least from my perspective, the more education youth are given and people in general, the more that these facts can change, so it doesn't keep growing like it is. I guess it won't factor into the fact that youth may feel that they're invincible or it can't happen to them, but they can't see the consequences, although arguably it could still be the same mentality that it just simply can't happen to me. And so, however, though, there is evidence that support that with message framing, when you are presenting information to that category, that perhaps would help. And of course, screening, and I assume that could be useful as well, so long as it was private. And just a few more facts. America, there are over 10 million people infected with STDs, and Nebraska actually ranks number 9 in the most likely states to contract an STD. So, which is interesting because Nebraska, of course, is not a very large state. Omaha is certainly not a very large city, so it's disturbing that Nebraska would be number 9 on the list, most likely to catch STD. So we kind of went over this, go into this a little more, why STDs, STIs are so prevalent. Interestingly enough, there still does exist stigmas with STIs. So, if it is a stigma, you would think that people would avoid it, but that in itself is, I think, part of the problem, because there's no way that you can identify someone. You'd be expecting someone to admit it or be honest about it, and that all in itself can cause conflict, even though those things should be addressed. And in America, most, and probably I would say maybe all STDs, or many, can be treated with medication, which is good. But in other countries, it depends on the medical care, and STIs can actually be life-threatening, just depending upon the country and the level of medical care, the level of awareness. I'm going to go through quickly some forms of STIs. I'm listing them in the most probably worst to the least worst, just simply by the fact that the STIs are not curable. So we go with AIDS, herpes, hepatitis, genital warts, syphilis, chlamydia, and gonorrhea. Critical factors on those is the fact that, of course, some are not curable. And however, all the STDs below genital wart, can be treated with antibiotics and creams. May seem less of a threat due to that, and the others, though, may require a lifetime worth of treatments. Another factor that's coming into play is the fact that STIs have an incubation period, and that in itself could contribute to the epidemic because, like for instance, with AIDS, there's flu-like symptoms, but it may not occur until weeks after a person is infected, and of course they still might not know they have AIDS because we can all catch the flu or a cold. Of course, AIDS is incurable. In herpes, the average infected may experience mild to no symptoms. So, of course, that means it's going to be easy to pass. If you're not even experiencing symptoms, then you don't know, of course, and so you could pass it to multiple people. With hepatitis, it's the same. There's minimum symptoms, so of course it's easy to pass. Genital warts, same thing. Minimum symptoms, maybe, of course, it manifests, so of course it's easy to pass. Even with like syphilis, there's it can be up to a 90-day period. Chlamydia, it's the same. It's sometimes not even diagnosed unless you have complications. You're there for something else. And with gonorrhea, person may be symptom free. The guy may, and the woman, it may mimic other things that could be going on that wouldn't even point to a STI. So when you factor in, there's a long incubation rate. People don't even know or may be infected and not aware of it. It all adds to the fact that that's why it's at an epidemic level. So I'm looking at it as far as what are the solutions. So I'm looking at knowledge as power. Since they don't, STIs, a lot of them don't present immediate symptoms. A lot of people could go a while before they know they're affected. They may not even know they are effective. Then, of course, it's easy to spread. And then there's some evidence also that condoms are mainly used for pregnancy prevention versus safe sex. But I mean, still, it's better to use a condom and at all times with it, all your sexual partners, because that will, at least for the most part, even everything is not 100%, but at least you got your best chance of not passing anything or catching anything. From here, we're going to move quickly into possible results of a STI. There's psychological issues, relationship, of course, health issues. There is stigma, but technically people are not, if they're infected, they may not know it. Even if they're infected, they probably surely wouldn't admit it, which adds to the stigma, which could arguably be said that it contributes to why it is spreading. And so, of course, if you are infected, you need to modify your sexual behavior. If you're not infected, of course, you need to always practice safe sex. Go quickly into some keys to responsible sex. That's what I was stating earlier. Always practice safe sex. When women to use condoms, and it's actually evidence that shows that that can be a sense of empowerment with ladies, and because they have control over a sexual encounter. And of course, using condoms will reduce your susceptibility to STIs. Also, need to learn, infected or non-infected, need to learn that intimacy can occur outside of sex. Sex is just one factor in love and or pleasure. And people need to be educated so they know key factors to prevent STDs. And so, just wrapping up, these are some key factors, I believe, that address sexual responsibility. STI prevention needs to be clear and precise, especially in the age group that we're looking at, 15 to 24, and should be screening for that, possibly in high school. should be a risk perception, because if you're not perceiving a risk, then you are more likely to be susceptible to harm. There should be a sexual schema, according to some evidence. Gender roles, cultural expectations all affect how a person behaves sexually. And also, even if you have all the knowledge, you have to put it in play. Because the knowledge, if it's like a tool, if it's on a shelf, then you're not. It's not going to help you. You need to use that tool. And so there's evidence that suggests that should teach or enact a safe sexual skills. So I appreciate listening to this video. Hope it was informative and helpful. And